Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to examine a defining moment in human history. During World War II, the United States launched the largest, most secretive scientific project ever conceived. We'll explore exactly how this desperate race to build the atomic bomb transformed theoretical physics into a technology with permanent global consequences.
Here's the roadmap for our explainer today. We'll carefully break down the secret global race, the science of fission, fueling and designing weapons, Trinity and the bombings, and finally, a permanently changed world. Section 1. The secret global race. This entire massive undertaking existed for one primary reason: the terrifying possibility that Nazi Germany might unlock the power of the atom first. Driven by that fear, the scale of the American response was staggering. The Manhattan Project cost nearly $2 billion in the 1940s. To put that into perspective, that's equivalent to tens of billions today, and it employed over 130,000 people. But what's truly remarkable about this massive workforce is the absolute secrecy. Information was heavily compartmentalized. You could operate industrial machinery every single day without having any idea you were actually helping to create atomic weapons. Only a very small group of leaders and scientists saw the full picture. Because of this intense need for secrecy, the project wasn't actually centered in Manhattan, despite the name. It was spread across massive hidden facilities. These were essentially entire cities built completely from scratch. The three most critical sites were Los Alamos in New Mexico, led by physicist J. Robert Oppenheimer, where the bombs were actually designed. Then there was Oak Ridge, Tennessee, dedicated to uranium enrichment, and Hanford, Washington, which focused entirely on plutonium production. Section 2. The science of fission. Before we look at the engineering, we need to understand the physics. Everything traces back to a laboratory discovery in the 1930s known as nuclear fission. Scientists realized that certain atoms, especially uranium, are somewhat unstable. When these atoms are hit by subatomic particles called neutrons, they don't just absorb the impact, they split apart. And when they split, two very important things happen. They release a massive amount of energy, and they release more neutrons. The crucial point here is how those extra neutrons behave. This brings us to the chain reaction. A neutron hits a target atom, and the atom splits. The huge amount of energy, along with the extra neutrons, are released. Those new neutrons immediately fly out and hit other atoms, causing them to split, which releases even more energy and even more neutrons. If enough of these atoms split rapidly at once, the energy release is immense and it's immediate. This chain reaction is the entire theoretical foundation of the atomic bomb. Section 3. Fueling and designing weapons. Knowing how a chain reaction works in theory is one thing, but actually acquiring the material to sustain it is another. This was known as the fuel problem. Natural uranium is primarily made up of an isotope called uranium-238, which unfortunately doesn't work well for bombs. The isotope they actually needed, uranium-235, makes up only about 0.7% of natural uranium. Because these two isotopes are almost completely identical, separating them was an incredible industrial challenge. At the Oak Ridge facility, giant machines ran nonstop just to separate them, at one point consuming roughly 20% of all electrical power in the entire United States just to produce enough enriched uranium for a single bomb. This immense difficulty led to two distinct paths to solve the fuel problem. First, there was uranium-235, produced at Oak Ridge, which fueled the bomb named Little Boy using a relatively simple gun design. Then, there was an alternative material, plutonium-239. This was created at Hanford using nuclear reactors, where uranium absorbed neutrons to become plutonium. That plutonium then had to be dangerously extracted from highly radioactive material. This fueled the Fat Man bomb, which required a highly complex implosion design. Let's look a little closer at the mechanics of those two designs. The Little Boy uranium bomb was mechanically straightforward. It essentially fired one piece of uranium into another piece inside the bomb, creating a critical mass and triggering the chain reaction. It was so straightforward that scientists never even tested it before using it in war. Fat Man, the plutonium bomb, was completely different. Plutonium would explode prematurely in a gun design, so scientists had to invent an implosion method. They surrounded a plutonium core with conventional explosives and timed them to detonate perfectly evenly, compressing the core inward to trigger the reaction. This perfect simultaneous compression was so incredibly difficult to achieve that the bomb had a high risk of failure. It absolutely had to be tested. Section 4. Trinity and the Bombings.
6 years of theoretical physics and intensive engineering finally culminated in the physical world. On July 16, 1945, out in the New Mexico desert, the plutonium implosion design was put to the test. Codenamed Trinity, it was the first nuclear explosion in human history. The blast vaporized the steel tower holding the bomb and released energy equivalent to 25,000 tons of TNT. Watching the massive fireball from a distance, the project's scientific director, J. Robert Oppenheimer, later recalled a somber line from the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita. "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." Humanity had successfully harnessed atomic energy as a weapon. The transition from the test site to wartime application was swift. By the summer of 1945, Germany had already surrendered, but Japan was still fighting. After the successful Trinity test in July, the United States deployed the weapons. On August 6th, the uranium bomb Little Boy was dropped on the city of Hiroshima. Just 3 days later, on August 9th, the plutonium bomb Fat Man was dropped on Nagasaki. The devastating effects of the blasts, the burns, and the radiation killed over 200,000 people. Shortly afterward, Japan surrendered, bringing World War II to a close. In the decades since, a deep historical debate has continued regarding the necessity of the bombings. On one side, it's argued that a mainland invasion of Japan would have resulted in the deaths of hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of soldiers and civilians, and that the bombs ultimately ended the war faster. On the other side, critics argue that Japan was already near surrender and that alternatives to dropping such catastrophic weapons on populated cities should have been thoroughly explored. It is a profound controversy that has never fully disappeared and likely never will. Section 5. A permanently changed world. Regardless of the debate over their use in 1945, these weapons permanently altered human civilization. For the first time, humanity possessed the ability to destroy entire cities in seconds. During the Cold War that followed, the United States and the Soviet Union built thousands of nuclear weapons. This gave rise to the chilling military doctrine of mutually assured destruction. This is the understanding that if one nuclear power were to launch an attack, the retaliation would be so massive that both sides, and potentially the whole world, would be annihilated. It completely transformed how warfare and global diplomacy operate. But the Manhattan Project didn't just change military strategy, it fundamentally altered how science itself is conducted. Before World War II, scientific research mostly took place in small, isolated university labs. The Manhattan Project proved that massive government funding, combined with industry and military coordination, could rapidly produce world-altering breakthroughs. This model became known as Big Science. It laid the direct groundwork for the space race, civilian nuclear energy, massive medical research initiatives, and the modern technological megaprojects we see today. As we conclude this explainer, we're left to consider the ultimate legacy of the Manhattan Project. In just 6 short years, humanity unlocked a power capable of global destruction. It forces us to confront a difficult ethical dilemma that is just as relevant today as we develop fields like artificial intelligence, biotechnology, and autonomous systems. Just because human beings can create something incredibly powerful, does that mean we should? The Manhattan Project proved our capacity for incredible scientific leaps, but it leaves us with one lingering, profound question. Can human wisdom keep up with human technological power?